Hey folks, David Stewart here. David V. Stewart, actually, from davidvstewart.com. What does the V happen to stand for? Well, it stands for Van Dyke. And with that, you guys will be able to guess a little bit of my heritage. I also happen to be married into a very large, very happy Dutch family that I love very, very much. Why am I telling you all this? Well, so you guys can guess a little bit of the background and also my possible biases for what I'm going to talk about next, which is actually Turkey. Okay, yeah. I haven't talked about Turkey since the failed coup attempt of Erdogan back last year in 2016, and it's March of 2017 as I'm recording this. But I will say that it's been really interesting to watch the progress of Turkey since that particular coup. I don't think of any other time in history, I don't think we've ever had an opportunity to watch this sort of political transformation happen in real time because of the power of the internet. It's a fascinating moment in history. Why do I bring them up now? Well, Erdogan happened to call the Dutch remnants of Nazis and fascists, even though people on this channel have correctly pointed out National Socialism, which is Nazism, and fascism are not the same thing. We tend to just kind of lump them together. Why is he name calling? Well, let's give you a little bit of background, and I'm going to link some articles down below for you to peruse at your leisure. And remember, peruse means to read closely, not to just skim. That's skimming. So you can peruse them at your leisure. And I selected those because I feel like they have a lot of good analysis and a lot of good information, and they're fairly neutral in tone. But there's many more articles. You can look them up if you want other perspectives as well. So there's a referendum happening in Turkey on April 16th that will essentially transform Turkey from a more parliamentary system at the top where representatives have a lot of power that's sort of scattered among them to a much more top-down pyramid-like structure where the president will be at the top and will essentially have a lot of strong executive powers. Now, that's not to say Erdogan has no power right now, even though the presidency is supposed to not be the same position as prime minister, where you're executing what parliament does. Since the coup has happened, there's been a major political purge that's happened. For anyone that's not in the AK party, which is like Erdogan's party, there's been I think hundreds of thousands of people who've lost government jobs or disappeared or been imprisoned because they are supporting one of the other political parties that exist in Turkey. You've had parliament members get locked up and imprisoned. There is no sense of political freedom right now in Turkey that I can say as an outsider looking in. I don't see any evidence of any significant political freedom. There's political freedom for those who happen to already be in agreement with the party that's in power, but that's not real. That's not real political freedom. So why is that important? Well, on April 16th, that referendum will happen, but something that's been happening is that all over Europe, there's been rallies and campaigns to vote for this referendum in Turkey, so in Western Europe, including the Netherlands. What happened in the Netherlands was a Turkish foreign minister was trying to fly in, I believe, to Rotterdam, which has a pretty high Muslim population, and his plane was not allowed to land. They turned him back, and he was going to attend a rally in support of this referendum to give Erdogan these powers. Now, why on earth would you be campaigning for some political referendum outside of the country in which that referendum is going to happen? And the reason is because there's a lot of Turks that don't live in Turkey. There's millions of them. I think over 5 million Turkish people don't live in Turkey right now. They live in other places in Europe, either Western Europe or Eastern Europe, depending on where the work migration happened. And this has been happening since like the 1970s. I think the Netherlands has around 400,000 Turks living in it. And of those, they may not be Dutch citizens. They may have a Turkish passport, or it may be that Turkey just doesn't really care that they are expatriated to some level to the Netherlands and would let them vote in that election. So what you have is not a real election in the referendum. Sorry. So what you have is this very odd thing where a government is campaigning for its desires outside of its own country to people that don't live in that country. And then you have the president who is completely suppressing political thought in his own country, calling people in the Netherlands Nazis and fascists for not allowing his foreign minister to come in and basically start a protest or a riot, and to campaign for something in political in his own country with supposedly, Dutch citizens or things like that. So it's a really, really interesting situation because, first of all, there's like that hypocrisy level. Erdogan, and this might upset some people, but to me, as an outside viewer, he is the most Hitler-like figure that I think I have seen since probably Adolf Hitler or Joseph Stalin. Right, the most dictatorial figure that I think has existed since the end of World War II. And there's a couple of reasons that I think that. One of them is that he's basically using the main religion of Turkey, which is Islam, to promote nationalism. He's combining those two things together, and it's a very, very powerful sentiment when you're able to do that. So he really is running his campaign, or running his political rhetoric the way that Hitler did, which is combining the racial and national pride thing. It's a highly nationalistic sense with, religion and with identity to really concentrate political power. So I think that's a very interesting thing regarding this whole thing. Now, what I think is the best thing to talk about, especially in sort of context of my past videos, is the fact that by him using this name calling, calling people Nazi, has been really, really powerful up till now in a lot of European politics. The Nazi ghosts have haunted the Germans for 70 plus years, to where calling someone a Nazi is like a really, really deep name calling thing, where if you call someone a Nazi in Germany, they're going to be like, no, they're going to immediately get defensive, which is the point of an ad hominem, right? When you give someone an ad hominem, the point is to put them on the defensive and make them have to try to prove that they're not. Like if you call someone a racist, I've made this point in other videos that the word racist in the United States is pretty soon will have no meaning and no power whatsoever. Calling someone a racist will be the equivalent of calling them stupid or poopyhead. Because once that word is used, and it eventually the effect of it ceases to happen. Cuss words eventually just become other words and are forgotten. So it's the same thing with name calling things. If you call someone a Nazi, it's like they're obviously not a Nazi because they're not part of the National Socialist Party. But you're name calling them to try to get them to try to, instead of dealing with whatever issue at hand, to just say, oh no, let me prove how I'm not a Nazi. So for the most part, that is gonna cease to not work, hopefully, in Europe. And that's what I'm hoping, is that the more people use this word Nazi, the more power the word Nazi is going to lose, until it's just people are no longer afraid of being called Nazi anymore, and you can deal with the ideas at hand rather than using this powerful ad hominem. And another part of calling someone Nazi is that if you attach any idea and you put it under the umbrella of Nazi, then all you have to do is attach that word to that idea, and anytime someone wants to discuss that idea, they're a Nazi. So if the idea is like, hey, we need to preserve Dutch culture, right? And Dutch culture is valuable and worth preserving. Where it's like, oh, you're a Nazi who doesn't believe in valuing other cultures. It's like, no, I believe in valuing Dutch culture, and it doesn't mean I don't value Turkish culture to Turks. It just means I think Dutch culture should remain and exist. That's an important thing. Now, let's briefly talk about the free speech thing, because what they did is they didn't allow this foreign minister to land in the Netherlands. Is that a violation of free speech? And it depends on your perspective. For the most part, I'm going to say no. The reason is because you don't have to, if you believe that nation states are a thing and that they have an authority to control who comes in and out of their borders and to order things for their people in whatever political system they happen to have in their region, then of course they have a right to tell someone that they can't come into the country, right? They have a right to be able to say like, no, you are not Dutch. You don't have a right to just walk into my country. In the same way, somebody doesn't have a right to walk into your house and speak freely to you, right? So someone can speak freely in the common spaces on the internet or on their website, whatever it is. I believe in promoting that and allowing that, and that's a value. But you don't have to allow someone to come into your home and then convince your children to murder you, right? So, and if that's how you view some of this incitement, then of course you're going to push back against it. But regardless, you don't have to let them in. And that doesn't mean that you're, suppressing free speech by not allowing that minister in. So that's that particular part of it. As far as the whole thing that surrounds it, I think it's going to be very interesting to watch this referendum. The current political establishment in Turkey basically has full control of the media, and no one who would vote no on this referendum is being allowed to speak on it. I believe with pretty much as near certainty as I can muster that the referendum will pass, and we will see Turkey transformed from its semi-unstable parliamentary system to a fairly oppressive top-down style government. And whether that, I don't think that will really improve Turkey. So let me say that. But I also don't know how bad that will be either, right? Because in the country of Turkey, there's been sort of a long tradition of military coups that have happened because the government becomes unstable or stops adhering to their constitution and things like that. It's Turkey is politically a very interesting study. And so anyway, you guys look into it and you can form your own opinions about this. I'm not particularly offended by anyone calling me Nazi because you guys have seen this on this channel. I get called all kinds of names. Eventually you realize that it's people who don't have anything valid really to say to you. Nobody who is capable of challenging your ideas is really going to call you poopyhead, right? Because they would skip that and just talk about why your idea is bad. Right? So anyway, that's my whole opinion on that. Please give me your opinion. Give me your thoughts down below, especially regarding the possible free speech implications and the cultural implications. All that stuff's very interesting. And by the way, it's not that I also want to get this out here. Like I say, I want Dutch culture to persist. It doesn't mean I dislike Turkish culture or something like that. It's just I'm not a big believer in multiculturalism. I'll just put it that way. So you guys have a great one, and I will see you next time. Don't forget to visit my websites. Links will all be down below. And y'all have a great day. Hey guys, I wanted to give you one extra little piece of analysis, one extra little bit. I'm just going to read this. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte called Mr. Erdogan's fascist comment, quote, a crazy remark. He said, I understand they are angry, but this is, of course, way out of line. Now, I detect a little bit of butthurt, and the proper response would have been a no butthurt response, which would have just been, say whatever you want, we don't care, right? Mr. Erdogan is free to call us whatever he wants, but the Dutch people know exactly what they are, and words will not hurt us, nor will they change our minds. Thanks so much for watching, guys.